I'm DaJuan Johnson, and I'm excited to introduce you to my Think Bigger Actor podcast, where I'm going to share with you different kinds of talks and coachings and conversations with actors and industry professionals on thinking bigger. I hope these conversations will help you on your path to success, because I believe success is an inside job that starts with your mindset and the thoughts you hold dominant in your mind. Change your thoughts and you change your world. Your path to thinking bigger begins now. Hey, Pej.
Hey, how are you?
So good, so good. You know, you were a listener of this podcast, and you just like mentioned in the inbox one time, you're like, I love this. I love your podcast. I love what you're doing. And I was like, will you come on? Will you come on?
You know, when I was listening, when I found it, it was during a time where I was really struggling. And I'm not sure exactly which actor you were interviewing, but
Angela Parker.
Was it Angela Parker? Yes, that's
Angel,
right.
Sorry, Angel Parker. Sorry, Mr.
Angel Parker.
Yep.
And it hit me like a ton of bricks. You know, sometimes you're so lonely in this town, in this business. And when you hear someone go through similar stuff and then come out on top, it gives you hope, you know?
Yeah.
So, and it was nice because a lot of these podcasts, you know, I understand you have to keep everyone interested, but this one's specifically for actors, I think. So
yeah,
that's what I want to know about. I don't really care about other crap. Don't talk about other shit like that, you know? So
yeah.
And you stick to it and you ask important questions that actors are interested in hearing, you know?
Yeah. Oh, well, I hope you think so, because I got some rapid fire questions.
Oh boy.
Coming at you first. We're going to start this off.
Shit. Okay.
Hard. Yeah, just first. Just like, let's jump right in. And you ready? You ready? You look like you're sweating. You look like you're sweating. All right. Before we jump into the big stuff, I want to talk about rapid fire. What's your favorite role you ever played?
Oh man. Okay. You know what? The Old Man.
The Old Man.
Faraz Hamzad is the most incredible role I've ever had. Yeah.
You're doing that one right now, right?
Right now, yeah. We're starting season 2 in January. Yeah.
Great. What's your dream role? Or like, what are you dying to play?
Oh, great question. I really want to play a superhero type role. I know you love that, but I just really would love to be in Marvel or DC in that world and do something badass and show my athleticism. You know, I'm a pretty good athlete, so I would love to be able
if you do say so yourself. If you do
say so. There's one thing I'm cocky about is that I'm really good. I'm a really good athlete. I used to play tennis at a very high level and baseball and basketball varsity and all those things. So football, all of it. So yeah, but I would love to be able to incorporate that into a role.
Into that.
Yeah.
What's your definition of success?
Oh man, to be able to every day pursue your dream.
Yeah. Okay. What do you do to take care of yourself mentally?
So much lately, especially in that time I was talking about, I started reading a lot. A friend of mine, Sterling Suleiman, another great actor, put me onto Stoicism and put me onto a lot of these, you know, I don't know if you've ever heard of, I'm sure you have, Abraham Hicks. And, you know, doing a lot of that, I pray, I meditate, I try to take care of myself physically. That's helped a lot. You know, I do a lot of silent walks. I even called a healer once, and it was awesome. I mean, I'm open to all of it. And if you knew me, you would know, like, who are you? Because like 5 years ago, there's no way this guy would be talking like this.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So lately I've been really going through, and therapy, of course, therapy is key. I think everyone should be in therapy.
I love that question. That was a new question. I've never asked anybody else.
Oh,
but
okay.
I wanted this. It just came to me when I was thinking about
that's a good question.
What do I want to talk to Pej about today? And,
yeah.
You know, and I was like, that you know, I think our mental state is really, really big for actors, especially coming out of a pandemic. Where we already feel that our industry is so siloed. We're so siloed out there. And now to go through a pandemic where you're just literally, you know, in your own space. Totally. I thought that question was going to be good. But you said, if I knew, your words were, if I knew this guy in front of me right now 5 years ago, I would not believe that you're saying all this, which ties into my next question that you had a quote on. You said, I'm forever grateful for the origins of my career. right? It shaped me not only as an actor, but also as a human being. So it sounds like you're just begging to tell me this origin story. I mean, I want to hear a little bit of
Yeah, it's so weird for me because it's something I lived and I went through and all that. But now, because of the success of the show, I'm doing press for the first time in my career. And this is something people want to talk about. And I understand it is interesting. When I first got out here, it was hell. I mean, I couldn't get a real agent to save my life. Every time I tried to sign with someone, the first thing they would say is, well, we have one of you. That was the quote, which meant they have another brown guy. They have one other brown guy.
Yes.
So, and it was in
they're
me,
good.
like,
they're
damn
good.
it.
They got that
They're
one
good.
brown
Yeah,
guy.
that's
They're
it.
like,
That's all we need. And it was always a friend of mine too at the time. And they're still friends of mine. But I would just be like, oh man, I just missed the boat. I got here like 6 months too late. Everyone's taken. So, I trudged through a couple of, God bless them. They gave me a shot and I booked some little tiny parts here and there with some smaller reps that you've never heard of. And I did that for, a good amount of time. I mean, I would jump ship to agents all the time. And then one time I signed with this one guy and he would, I won't say his name, but he put fake credits on my resume. He put like I was on Saved by the Bell and Galaxy Quest. I'm like, I wasn't in LA. And what are we doing? He goes, oh, don't worry. Those casting directors are either dead or retired. So now you have a leg up and you can get, and it made me so sick, I was so nervous. Well, consequently, I got a job. And then that casting director that hired me pulled me aside and he said, you're too talented to be with this guy. You need to leave him. He's going to blacklist you in this town, because they knew how shady he was. Yeah. I immediately left and I had no agent again, no manager, no nothing. For 7 months, no one would hire me or sign me. And I was selling aircraft parts at the time, over the phone. And the guy who worked with me was also an actor. He's like, you know what we could do? We could buy a SAG franchise agency. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, you pay $5,000 and you get the breakdowns legally. You're a company and you get to submit. And my eyes just went wide, like, oh crap. Okay, great. Well, I don't have $5,000. Let me call my best friend in the world, Showman. And he lent me the money. I paid him back, of course, but he lent me the money immediately, got that going. And we started submitting each other, other actors. We started pitching. And when I was doing this, I was selling aircraft parts at the same time. And Pej Vahdat is not going to sell a lot of aircraft parts over the phone.
Hold on. Let me just think real quick before, because this is fantastic. Can you remember the script that you had to say on the phone when you were selling aircraft parts? Like,
it wasn't a script. It wasn't a script. Well, that was when I was selling extended car warranties. It was a script. Yes, I'm a terrible person.
How did that go? Let me see. So you call me up, ring, ring, ring.
I would call you. Hey, this is Jason Vaughn from CrossFlight, and so what do you guys? So what we would do is basically we would say, hey, what do you need, right, to the smaller airlines, and they go, well, we need a turbine. This number. I'm like, okay, great. And I would get off the phone and I would start scouring all the different companies, the wholesalers that may have had this thing laying around, and buy it cheap and sell it for a little profit. So I would do it all the time. I mean, it was so hard. I would start at 3 a.m. because we would do Europe, right? And then I would do it all the way until the afternoon every day, man. It was awful. Yeah.
So you like, even just watching you, like when you got on this, this session call with me, and you confident man, as soon as you get into this story, you can feel the anxiety come back to you.
Yes. Oh my God. So true, man.
You can, I'm watching
like
the anxiety of, and when I told you to relive the script, and I guess it's important, right? So when you are sitting there thinking about how far you come and you're on the old man and all that stuff, like it really is. I want people to hear that story.
Oh, because yeah, man.
People look at us, right? Look at us at this end point, or wherever this point is, and they're like, he's on 3 hit shows right now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They don't remember, or they don't know that you woke up at 3 a.m. That you like automatically started getting stressed. As soon as I said it, you're like, dude, why would you?
I haven't said that company name, CrossFlight, in 15 years probably. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe what I would do every day for no money, by the way. Like, I wasn't killing it. I was barely scraping by. And it was just a way I could, it was a great way to be able to audition and make money without worrying that you were gonna, have to get someone to cover your shift or whatever. But what happened was this. So, Jason Vaughn was the character selling aircraft parts every day, but he
So that
also
was your
was
alias. That was
that
your
was my
alias.
alias, and now he was my agent. And
Jason got
he would,
around.
Jason Vaughn, man, Jason Vaughn would call aircraft parts, click, see the breakdowns. Oh, that's perfect for me. Okay, Bialy Thomas, got it. Calling. Hi, how are you? This is Jason Vaughn from Sasko Hill and Associates. I
Yeah.
have the perfect guy for this part. He's new, he's young, you're gonna love him. You have to see him, you gotta give him a shot. Click. Like, not Bialy Thomas, I love them, but that was the first thing that popped in my mind. But yeah, it was all day, every day, constant.
You know, the I think that story is amazing. By the way, I did something
Thank you.
like that as well, where
Yeah.
we did it at a manager level because managers didn't need to be franchised, and so
Yes.
we started.
That's right.
We started a manager where you could call around called Mint Agency or something. Where we would get the illegally. You went the legal route, and we did it illegally, and we would just do the exact same thing, around that. I think the big part of that story that stands out for me that you just said, man, was the Jason Vaughn part, right?
Mm-hmm.
And why you chose that name over, because you were like, Pej, nobody's going to pick up the phone for. And I thought that was, for me, was a little bit more heartbreaking in this story. Not your tenacity, not like, dude, I'm scrappy. I'm going to make this happen no matter what. But the thought of where we started 20 years ago and people picking up the phone and keeping the phone up for a Pej, or you know what I mean? And
Totally.
that's the part that I was like, when I was reading that, I was like, F-U-C-K, man.
Totally. Oh man. Yeah. I mean, you kind of block all that out. The older you get, you forget the racism. I mean, it's everywhere now, but that back then was that was like a real thought. Like the guy said, well, the reason I used that name also was because every agent was like, you need to change your name. You're not going to work in this town with that name. And I said no every single time, because to me, one of the biggest things, my dreams were for my father's last name to be on a screen.
Yeah.
Because this is a man and my mother who left Iran in a prominent position in life because there was a revolution and they didn't want their kids to grow up in a repressed country. They gave up everything and came here. So for me, I wanted my dad to see, look what your son is doing. And that's your name on a movie screen.
Yeah.
Opposite Jeff Bridges. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So it was vital for me for that to happen in my life. What happened was a commercial agent I was with said the same thing. And commercially, we don't have credits. There's no credits. So I'm like, whatever, dude. If that's going to get me in the room, change my name to whatever you want.
Yeah.
Because I don't care. She goes, what's your favorite name? I go, I kind of like the name Jason. That's cool. And she goes, great. What about Jason Vaughn? I'm like, great, let's do it. I like Vince Vaughn. That sounds good. So that's where Jason Vaughn came from. And 6 months later, by the way, that agent dropped me through a letter in the mail.
Yeah, but there's so much of that story too, that like we get out here and we do what we're told, like we don't have any say in our career.
Exactly.
Right. And we have so much fear of not succeeding, but like these people dropping us and not making it. And so we're like, yes, cut my hair. Great. I know that's my identity, but like you think that's like, and so, it makes perfect sense on that. And, I'll just piggyback a little bit on, I remember getting one of my first agents, and I remember him saying that he was just like, you're one of three and I was like the third one. He's like, but I guess I'll take you. And I was just kind of like, thank you so much.
Totally.
And like, I never went out. And I remember thinking like, gosh, that guy was so desperate to just prove anything in ourselves. And so I hear you on that story.
For sure, man. Desperation was the beginning, and it is. Sometimes you fight it now. You don't want to ruffle any feathers. You want to, but now even it's hard because, as a person of color, you are ingrained to be grateful to be in this business. Like they make you feel like you're welcome, that you're allowed to be in our crew.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt for so long, until recently, where I just grew out of that. I was like, no, you're welcome. I'm here.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to bring it.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to give you more than you're paying for. That's for sure.
Mm.
I'm giving you much more than you're paying for. I'll tell you that much. But that's
Yeah.
not why I'm here, right? I'm here to do what I love, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. Of course, I'm not. I'm just saying the attitude shift happened a couple years ago, where I was like, "Oh, you're worthy of being here. People have told you this. You got to get over that
Yeah.
desperation bullshit that you grew up with in this town.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
always
not
think
easy.
it's not easy, and I just started to really adopt the thought, and I try to pass it on. If desperation is at the helm, or if desperation is driver in your career, where do you think you're going to end up?
Exactly. That's
Right,
right.
like
That's
where,
right.
so we got to put something else in that driver's seat. And I had Kirby Hal Baptiste on here. You might she's just blowing up right now, and she was on here, and she was like, DaJuan, she's like, that they're getting something too when you're on set. Right. And I was like,
Hmm.
you're right. She's like, so don't go in with this
Yeah.
attitude of like, thank you. It's like, we're both getting a mutual
Collaboration.
right. And
Yeah.
then it's like, so shift everything you're thinking on that.
Totally.
Because everybody, because that was the verbiage for a
Yeah.
while. You should be thankful for an audition. You should
That's
be
right.
thankful when you make it on set.
That's
Well,
right.
we can be thankful and
Yeah.
dissatisfied,
That's right.
right? We
That's
thank you
right.
for the $1,000 for this co-star, but
Sure.
also that person's making 1,500 and they're doing you know what I mean? Like we can ask
Totally.
for more. And so I think it's
Totally.
a really interesting thing you're talking about how it's shifted and how we
Yeah.
must step into that as well. So
That's right.
I think that's great. So you got your origin story. We're up to Jason. You did your 5,000. You were on you booked a couple things. You're moving forward. Tell me a little
Yeah.
bit more after that.
So Jason Vaughn did what he did. He got me a movie. And that my whole goal was to get something of note, and I could take it to a legit agent
Mhm.
and give them 10% just to sign me. That's what my thought was.
Yeah, yeah.
So I got this movie, and I went to a little, moderate agency that was pretty legit. And I said, here, will you rep me? And they said, great, sure, we'll take that.
Mhm.
And I just kept doing it. Like I went from another one to another one to another one, kind of built higher every time.
Yeah.
And that's how I saw it happening. To me, I didn't see CAA coming knocking down my door. I had to get to a point where CAA was like, okay,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So I decided to do that. I started doing it, worked pretty well. And then I was in a rut for a while where I was just doing co-star after co-star. And if you do too many of those, I had a really nice agent. His name is Ray Mohit. He's a big manager now, and he hip pocketed me. One of the things he told me was, you got to stop doing that, because you'll be known as the guy who just does co-stars.
Yeah.
So, and that's scary, right? Because you're making some money and you're
Mhm.
on a set, and the
Well, you think it's
opportunities there.
money, right?
That's
Well,
right, right.
come on. Like what happens?
Totally.
What
Of
happens is
course.
we're like, what? $1,200
Yeah.
in a day? You're like-
$400. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. So I did. It was scary, but that's a mind shift, another energy shift. I went from co-star to guest star, right? And I was like, that took a while to believe that I could be a guest star on something. That meant you carried the whole episode. Whoa, you know? And I finally got to that level, and then I booked Bones. And during that time, and Bones was supposed to be one episode. It was a
Mm.
guest star on a show. It was incredible. I was so excited. They loved it. A couple weeks later, they called again and asked for availability, and that was for the next 8 years of my life.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was the
Listen,
best.
that's how it
Yeah,
happens.
yeah,
I mean,
totally. Yeah,
I
exactly.
I believe that. And I don't know why, if you can pinpoint in hindsight, why you think that happened for you that way. Because when I look at it, I don't know, I showed up to set, not maybe naivete, but I showed up to set thinking like, I'm going to throw down in this little part. This is I'm going to do my best. I'm not going
Yeah.
to you know what I mean? You're not trying to do more or less. You're
No,
just
no, no.
really showing up. And so I think they showed up. I showed up. You know what I mean? Some of
Totally.
us don't show up. They're like, oh, I'm just a
Yeah,
co-star, I'm going to back away, or I'm just a guest star, I'm going to back away.
totally.
Like go in there,
No,
do
I did my thing. I just like I always do to this day. I just don't. I'm not here. I just really love what I do, right? So
Mm,
I love doing it. It's not work for me,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
So for me, it's like, of course I'm going to bring it. I'm going to do it
Mhm.
my best every time. And I think that, I have a good attitude on set. I'm so grateful to be there. But on top of it, I know my shit and I'm working hard. And, I think I'm pretty personable. So people like to be around me. So all those things happen. And the showrunner, who's this amazing man, Hart Hansen, saw that liked my character, decided to keep writing. And that's happened to me multiple times. So
Mhm.
whenever an actor tells me, oh, I just got this little role, I'm like, dude or
Don't.
gal, you better bring it, because
Yeah.
you don't know.
Don't
You
know.
have no idea. And also the opposite is true. I just booked this huge recur. Calm down. Calm down.
I've recurred on
Every
75 shows, but
episode, relax and bring it. Don't think you're set,
yeah.
because they can get rid of you like that,
Yeah.
you know? So yeah.
And I just want to be clear for everybody that's listening, you know, what bring it might mean, right? And I mean, we go back and forth with that. In my mind, bringing it is just showing up, like you're saying, number one, being personable, like, you know, doing your job. You don't have to go out of your way if you're an introvert or anything like that, but just like, do they want to spend 12 hours a day with you?
Yeah.
Right? Because these days can get very long. That's what I think, number one. And number two, bigger than anything else, is also know your stuff.
Oh,
like when you go on set,
bare
like,
minimum.
yeah, you know, but I'm sure you saw on Bones, like people actually show up and don't know their stuff. Yeah. And it's like mind blowing. I'm like, you work so hard to get these opportunities, and then they come, and then you're just like, yeah, I don't know all my lines. I'm doing all this actory stuff. This is not class, you know.
I mean, sometimes I got in an argument with an actor who said, well, my process is to not know it well. Okay. I'm like, that's horseshit.
That's bad. No.
Yeah, get out of here. Your process is to not know your lines?
Yeah.
What are you, nuts? What about me? What's my process? I have to deal with you fumbling around with your lines? That's insane. To me, you have to be a good teammate. You know, when we're on set, we're on stage, I'm, you know, like I said, I play sports, and it's a team game. We gotta lift each other up. We gotta be there for each other as actors, and for the crew, and for the writer. We have to be a good team to make this team work, like to make this succeed. And if you're not a good teammate, then we're gonna, you know, we're only as good as our weakest link. Yeah. So if you don't know your lines, then we're screwed. We're gonna lose hours, you know, and then we might miss the next shot, and then someone has to get, you know, maybe someone gets fired. You don't know. You know, it's crazy.
Falls apart. It all falls apart. You know, you've talked a lot though about being a working actor, right? And so I guess, you know, I think that term is overused, right? I think it's, or misused, maybe, right? And I think what people think of a working actor is you're going to be like a Brad Pitt, or you're going to be like a Meryl Streep. That's like, that's it. That's where all of it is. And so I guess before I jumped really into it, I wanted to know what your definition of that is, you know, because that was your dream, you know, out there. Is I wanted to be a working actor, but what does that really mean to you now?
I think that evolves as your career moves along. But I was a working actor the minute I quit my day job. To me, you know, I haven't had one, knock on wood, for, I think it's been 13 years now. 13.
Bones was on network. I think you're okay for a bit.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank God. Thank God. But yeah, I mean, that was when it happened. It was a couple commercials, a guest star. I mean, I probably was a little presumptuous, because I quit before Bones. So I got a couple national spots and a guest star on something. And that, to me, my mind went, okay, I'm good for a year. Because I was living in, like, you know, a studio apartment with, you know, whatever. I wasn't paying much. I had no expense. Yeah. So I thought, okay, I have a full year just to focus on my acting, go to class, work on my auditions, don't have anxiety about going to sell aircraft parts, don't sell extended car warranties, no more waiting tables, no more digging ditches, no more selling clothes at, you know, a hip hop clothing store on Hollywood Boulevard. None of it. It's over. It's just this. For a year, let's go. And, you know, it's been 13, you know, so, and every time I get a job, I say to myself, because I do have grandiose dreams, right? I dream big, and I'm okay saying that out loud now. I used to be like, to myself, like, oh, I want to, but now I'm like, no, I want to be one of the biggest fucking actors on the planet. That's my dream. And what I mean by that is, my North Star as far as career is Oscar Isaac. I think Oscar Isaac has as close to a perfect career as possible.
So great.
So to me, that's my North Star, and that's what I want. And every time I book a job, I go, okay, you just bought yourself more time, you know? it's levels, you know. So
That's interesting you say Oscar, because I think he's fantastic, by the way. I love where he's popping up. I would have said Pedro Pascal.
Oh yeah, another good one.
And it's like this awesome,
Definitely.
I don't want to say sleeper cell, because I think
you're right.
I think he just has that is for me.
It's absolutely true. You're absolutely right. Yes.
It's like, oh, I know that one, but then I think he's phenomenal what he
does. That is totally, yeah. Pedro gets to do theater. Pedro does comedies. Pedro does big movies, does indies, does TV. He's set for life. All the things that we want. Those two have it. Yeah. In spades. I'm not saying that, you know, they're I don't know how they are.
We don't know them, everybody. We don't know them.
Yeah. I actually do know Pedro a little bit, but
oh, do you? Okay.
Pedro's a good guy, really good guy, and his career is phenomenal. You're absolutely right. Like it's
I think it's just phenomenal.
Isn't he in the Star Wars stuff too?
Yeah, he's the Mandalorian.
Yeah, there you go. I don't watch that stuff, but I'm like the only person who doesn't like it. I know.
He's a geek over here, and we end the interview now, right? We end the conversation. I'm like, well, you know what? No. I think, you know, the reason I say that is because I think when you are starting out or when you're looking at stuff, you think a working actor is, I just want to make all my money from acting. Right? Like that is your that is his biggest dream, and I think that is such a low grade dream. Right, in the sense that there's so much more to that you can put into your vision. I want to do this. I want to go here and touch this person. I want to like do movies that like inspire here. Like there's just a little bit more we can add to it. And I also think that like the working actor in our space, in our industry, even the bigger ones, I should say, are making money outside of the industry. Right? They have restaurants, they have car things, they have, you know, vodka lines, they're doing ads and campaigns.
Tequilas,
they're doing that. And so the myth, I think, of just being a working actor on a set, making your money just from that, I think is just a little bit damaging. You know, I think I don't know. And, you know, and I also think you are amazing to like stop for a year. I like steak. And so I couldn't stop because I like to
God, no. I couldn't afford that. No chance.
You know,
it was like ramen and Subway's sandwiches for $6.
Were you ever told that statement of you got to put in your 10,000 hours, or you know, or if you can do anything else but acting, go do it? Any of that?
All the time.
Yeah, and I think those are damaging. You know, I think nobody is keeping up. Who's keeping up with your 10,000 hours? Somebody can show me a time card?
Yeah, you're right. I think what it does is it just I think what they mean by that is, look, this shit's hard. Okay. Yeah. And if you're not willing to put in the work, then get out. If you just think, because I have a friend of mine who wants to be an actor. I put air quotes up here. And, you know, what's he doing to be an actor? Nothing.
Yeah.
He just thinks someone's going to one day discover him. And it's insulting to the art. It's insulting to us as actors who work our ass off and try to get work and get better as an artist and all those things. And there's a lot of people like that. So when you especially in Los Angeles, my God. But if you tell somebody, if there's anything else you'd rather do it. I think what they mean is, this is really hard.
Yeah.
And don't waste your life hoping someone's going to discover you, because that's not how it works. Unless you're so lucky. I mean, 1 in a billion, or Ashton Kutcher, you know, where he gets discovered, you know, and he turned out to be really funny and talented and all those things. Yeah. And good. Yeah. And I don't begrudge that, but it's very rare that happens.
Yeah. What do you think about, you know, because again, that whole, I'm spitballing here right now. And I'm just thinking that so many people are two things, and you can be like a CEO of I don't know, you create a granola bar company, you know, because you get to do that, but then you also want to be this amazing actor, right? I think like I think there are more ways to become an actor than just being a freaking server or a bartender,
right? Yeah,
right. And so what we've done,
especially now,
you know. I bartended for 15 years. Damn. and I was so sad. And I bartended for 15 years, you know, also because I came from a very intense cultural family, my mom, and was just like, you gotta like make money and you gotta do it. And so I thought I had to do it a certain way instead of like, just like you're saying, I remember when I had 3 commercials running. and I had booked, oh gosh, maybe some show, I don't know, Criminal Minds or something like that. And I was in the bar, things were running. It was Chevy, Southwest was going. You could see me on different and I was still bartending, and people would just be like, there you are, like, isn't that you? And I'm like, yeah. So do you want fries with that?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I could have
Grinding.
quit. Well, I could have quit, but I just didn't have
Yeah.
that hope. I guess I was just scared. Like, you worry about that. So I guess I say all that to say, you just say, like, what other ways? I don't want anybody thinking, here's what I'll say. I don't want anybody thinking whatever way you're going to make it is the wrong way. Whatever way you're going to do it is the way. So if you have to sell warranties, right, sell those car warranties, but also make sure you're putting in equal or more towards what you want to be doing. That's
totally. Yeah, I think, but it has to be something you want. That's the thing. I'm not going to force you to go to acting class. If this is what you want, you're going to do it. You're going to work all day long and then go to Margie Haber. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to work all day long and then go to your scene studies class the next day. It's just what you want. Right. The work is just to pay your rent. That's all it is. Yeah. The actual acting part of it is amazing. It's therapy. It's what brings you joy in life. If it doesn't, why on earth would you put yourself through this?
Yeah. You seem really passionate about the craft, about the craft of acting. And I want to talk about that. But before we jump into that, I just had this little hit that I want to ask, like, your lowest point in this industry. Like, I know if you all are watching this on YouTube, I mean, like, he's hiding behind his hat. His hat went down. I couldn't see his eyes anymore. But like, I want to talk about your lowest point in this industry and how did you overcome that? Because again, I just wondering if you feel like sharing.
Oh, absolutely. I just trying to think of which is lowest. Was it?
I'm so happy we can laugh about it now, right? Like,
oh man, what pops into my mind. I mean, was that the lowest? Yeah, I guess that's one of them. I'm sure there's many more, but last year wasn't easy for me. But that was maybe my lowest point, not career-wise, but it was my lowest point emotionally as a human being. But career-wise, I was up for this movie called Rosewater with Jon Stewart, who was directing it for the first time. And it's about this Iranian journalist who gets imprisoned. It's this beautiful story. And I'm reading for the main character, who I happen to resemble. I'm Iranian. I speak it fluently. I went through 2 months of auditioning for this thing, to the point where my last audition, we had such a great read that they were like, John and the writer and the casting were like crying. And like, oh my God, that was amazing. Basically saying, you're the guy. Well, one of the producers, who I won't name, decided I wasn't the guy because I wasn't famous, and he couldn't sell the movie foreign, is what his quote was. I said, well, Jon Stewart's this famous guy. That's who's going to sell your film, not me. And the story will sell the film. It's so good. Well, they hired Gail Bernal, who's a Mexican who doesn't speak Farsi. So like, it broke me. I was so broken because I never really do that where I'm thinking this is it. Oh my God. But I really saw this as it. Like, oh my goodness, this could be something that takes you to another planet because it's really well done. The script was beautiful. John had a great vision. I really wanted it. And it killed me to the point where my girlfriend was like, she's like, you need to go to New York, because she knows how much I love being in New York. And she goes, just go for the summer and find your artistic, joy. And that's where I find it usually, is in New York. And I just got on a flight and I went to New York for 2 months, stayed on my best friend's couch, and just I got myself back. I was really broken because I put so much effort into that role.
Yeah.
And I just put so much hope into it, because it just seems so hard to reach a goal like that, to be the lead of this film. And it was finally in my grasp, and I had it and I killed it. I can look back at those auditions and go, you killed it. I didn't say, oh, why did I get so nervous? I was in it. And I'm proud of myself because I was able to do that. But yeah, that was tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember getting that call. I was driving on the 405. My manager at the time called me, and she's like, I don't know how to tell you this. And I just lost it. I started crying. I was like, oh my God. It was a
Yeah.
lot. It was a lot.
I think
Yeah,
it's
this
important.
business does that, you know?
There's so much in that story that is so true. And, so many of these things we think are going to be the thing that catapults us,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So many. I bet you
yeah.
we could talk about more about your career. And you're like, oh, well, this one was going to do it, and
Right,
this one was
right.
going to do it. And some of them, even if we book them,
Yeah,
they don't end up doing what we think they're going to do
totally,
in this
totally.
industry. And
Most of them don't.
most of them don't, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But we think that, and also the other big thing is just remembering that this is a business.
yeah.
That was the business decision, and it wasn't,
And it failed, by the way.
right. Well,
I'm serious. It did. And I'm okay with saying it. He failed miserably because he decided to go against the truth of the character, which was, I'm all about playing other ethnicities. I actually don't understand what's happening with all that, to be honest.
Mhm.
Like, but this was a real person, not a
Mm.
fictional person. This is a real person that we were portraying who speaks a language, a different language. And you
Mhm.
decided to go completely like, that's bonkers to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, but I also love that, and I'm curious about it, because I think one of the things as you grow up or as you get a little bit in anything you do, you start to realize what's your fuel. And it sounds like New York is your
Mhm.
fuel again,
Yes.
right? And so whether that's, I don't know, putting on some music or bubble bath or whatever people do, or going, like you're saying, out, whenever I go, like, and I'm not even a mountain outdoorsy guy, so don't take
Mhm.
anything, read into this,
Mhm.
but whenever I go to like Big Bear, or
Yeah.
whenever I go to places outside of, I can just get an
Yes.
hour or two outside of LA, and all of a sudden it feels like I'm like, I can breathe again.
Yes.
And I don't,
Totally.
what is that about? Like, what is
I
it?
think the pressure of being an actor, you're competing every single day with thousands of other people who want the same thing you do. And this town throws it in your face.
Yeah.
It's on every billboard, on every bus, Deadline Hollywood, all these things. And now Instagram has become Deadline. Like
Mhm.
it's constant in your face. You're not working. You're not working. So and so is, so and so is. And the pressure of that can really get to you, to the
Yeah.
point where you forget that, you're just you're an artist, and there's plenty for everyone. And then once you start feeling that way, I think that's what I've gone through in the last couple of years, is the comparison aspect of my life has kind of diminished. I find myself catching myself going, comparing, and I go, whoa, 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 don't do that. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Everyone has a different journey. Good for them. That means I can get it too.
Mhm.
If that person got it, I can get it too. And we're always one away. That's the one thing I keep telling people who are going through it. I go, you're one away. You're just one away. Don't
Mm.
forget that. You don't need to get 10 in a row. It's just one, and that can change everything. So as long as you have that belief and you keep doing that, I think, but the point of getting out of LA is that the pressure of this city. I remember someone telling me that, like, early on, you need to get out of this city often,
Often. Yeah. Yeah.
because
Mhm.
there is something about it. Something, I'm sure New York actors feel the same way when they're always there. Get out of the city, go upstate, breathe, because
Especially
you
when it's
need to
cold.
breathe.
Especially when it's
Yeah,
cold.
yeah. Go to Florida.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
totally.
That story for me was when I, oh gosh, I mean, it's like 10 years later. I can probably say the performance now, but I was the show. It was on Preacher, and
Oh,
I had, remember that show, and
yeah.
I was up for something on that, and I was Studio's choice. I think the director or the producer around that time was Seth Rogen and all that, and I've never really talked about that, and I was just up for it. And the casting director called me at home and said they want you to come back in and read this thing. When you get a call at home when you're acting, right? You know what I'm
Yes.
talking, when the casting or people call you
Oh,
and
man.
they're like, this is, and I was like, okay, this is it. We're gonna go in there, we're gonna do it. And I remember thinking, like, I heard you in my soul when you said this, because what I did was I allowed myself to dream about my biggest dream, which is going to Comic-Con, which is being in hall, which it was all
Yes.
like I lived that manifestation. And so when I got that call, when I was everybody's choice, when we were, because I was on hold, they're like, you're still the choice. You're still the choice. And I was like, great. And I got that call. that they went with this other person. And I was like, what other person? Well, they had already offered that other person. The other person had said no, maybe for some money and negotiations or whatever it is. And then while they were auditioning me, that person came back. You know how this goes, right? That person came back and was like, I'll do it. And I was like, and they're like, it just went away. And, I remember, that person was just more famous. And, and I remember just thinking like, how do I went down. I went down like you did for a very long time. And then I came back. And when I came back, I thought to myself, how can I rig this system in my favor? How can I rig the system in my favor? Because if my acting is really what the best is going to be, we get better each time. But like right now, I'm working at my optimal. But like, how can I start to rig this system? And that's when before Bosch and everything, I just got into like, how do I do PR? I started getting into social media. I started really starting to try to, in my mind, which has nothing to do with it, up my, persona out there so people can know me. That's what I thought I could control. You know what I mean? And I will say that now that we're talking about it, that's probably one of the reasons I did so much on season 1 of Bosch. When I was on social media, I was engaging with fans. I was talking to people. So I was like, I was just a co-star, but I was like, this is my show too. You're going to love this. Thanks for watching the show and all that stuff. Because I was
You're an asset.
Yes. You know what I mean? And so by the time when they said, you want to up me in Bosch, I was like, awesome, but I felt like this is part of that huge letdown, because what we don't do, and what you were saying, is sometimes we feel like it's only being done to us, and we're not learning for that and seeing like, what can we do more? And like you said, you learned out strategy. I got to go to New York.
Yeah, I got to go to New York. Yeah, for sure.
I think you love the craft, man. I think you love the craft so much. You light up when you talk about that. What's that about? I mean, I know we all do, but it feels like it's a little bit, like a romance with you.
Yeah, it is. I've never heard that. You're right. I'm in love with it. I'm in love with the whole process of it. I love doing it. I love being someone else. I love getting out of my own skin and, just being not me. I love what happens in a scene with another human being that's fake, but it's real. You know what I mean? Like, I love the feeling I remember walking out of early on when I first got out here, every time I had an acting class, and if I had a good scene that night and I felt it, all my anxiety was gone in life. I would walk out of class going, oh, that was like the best therapy session I've ever had.
Yeah, because you just left it all in Frank Nolan.
That's right. That's right.
Poor Frank.
Totally. And I never lost that. And I love actors. I love actors. I love real actors, I should say. Not that they have to be like, this whole pretentious bullshit, like method, this, that, and the other. No, I mean, people who like it and love it and are passionate about it. That's all. It doesn't matter what you do or how you do or where you're doing it. As long as you love it, I gravitate towards people like that. And I just feel like it's a beautiful art form. And I think the more I'm working now and seeing how it affects people, I never give myself that credit. I never have. And then the other day I was doing something for a friend of mine who runs a studio, and one of the students started crying. And I said, what? And she goes, I saw you on Bones as a brown girl, and I never had seen an actor on television that made me feel like I could do this. And you were the first person that I felt I could do. Because of you, I felt like and I started crying. I'm like, oh my God, you don't realize what this can do for people. You just, because I don't know, I just think it sounds arrogant, like my work affects people like that. But it's true, it does, and I love that it does that.
Right? If it's true, well, let's get real about what we're doing. We might not be, curing cancer or and all that, but I also think what we do is very important. I
agree, and we should give ourselves that kind of credit without being a pretentious, arrogant person. What it does, and that's why you should take it very seriously and know your damn lines.
Yeah.
Because another reason is
he's just not having this, y'all. He's not having this on 7.
Don't mess with me with that. I can't. It's the bare minimum. That's a bare minimum, man. I can't deal with that. What's funny? You work with some people. I've been so lucky, and sometimes you meet these huge stars who have won Oscars, and you're opposite them, and they know your lines.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, if Jeff Bridges knows every damn line on the planet, And you, who's here for, 2 scenes, and I'm not belittling that. I'm just saying, aren't you embarrassed? Like, that's
Yeah.
one of the greatest actors of all time. Not that this happened on, that was, Old Man was, listen, the Old Man was one of the best experiences. No one was like that. I'm just giving an example of like a famous actor and someone who might be there. So yeah, it's important because you just said we don't cure cancer, but what we do is we might entertain them in between sessions
Come on.
and get their mind off the
Yes.
terrible situation they're going through. Hopefully, we can help people escape from day-to-day shit that they're dealing with and put a smile on their face or make them forget for a little bit. And if you look at it like that, you might take your craft a little more seriously, with a little more respect for it.
Yeah.
And I try to do that because I know people are watching, and I didn't think about this until recently. And I think I always think I'm not working hard enough. So that really lit a fuel under me. I was like, oh, you gotta up your game, man.
Yeah.
You're affecting people, kids, being an Iranian American, a Muslim American, and a person of color in this country doing what I'm doing is very rare. We're less than 1% of representation on television is a MENA actor. And I'm one of those people, and I can't believe it. I pinch myself every day. So I have a responsibility to really up my game and be at the highest level so more people can be accepted from my culture to be in this business.
Pej, I don't want to put any onus on you to teach me anything. I can go out there and learn myself. But you just said a word, Amina, and I don't think I've ever heard that before.
It's Middle Eastern, North African actors.
Great.
It's an organization that my good friend Azita started because we're not represented. We're other.
Okay.
When you click, what ethnicity you are, there's nothing. It's
Yeah.
either white or not Hispanic.
Yeah.
And we fall under because we're not South Asian either.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So she started this crew and this group, this organization. She's incredible. She's on Broadway right now. She's amazing. But yeah, so that's a representation that just got, literally, I think a year ago, we just got recognized. And when they do the numbers were below 1%, way below. It's not. I don't remember the exact. I want to say 0.05, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
It's really low.
I never heard that, and I want to make sure that
I appreciate you asking. Actually,
yeah. Also, what we were talking about with the craft is when I did Grey's Anatomy, I when we put this stuff out there, we just give it all on set, right? And we're giving it all in that character report, and we're also now we want to do more work, right?
Yes.
But I'll just never forget. I talk about this all the time that when Twitter is so wonderful, you have people saying thank you for representing my dad. I saw you in my dad when his wife was dying, and you're like, oh, right, this is right. And it's like, I think you captured this moment so beautiful. And people are in the far reaches of our world watching our work over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And when you think about it, like you're saying, you put some respect on it.
Yeah, totally. And it's because I don't think I'm an egomaniac. So I don't think about like, how could I possibly be affecting anybody? I'm just an actor. But when they come to you with their story, it hits you like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that. I'm baffled by it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so humbled by it.
Do you think that is a part that's like a generational thing or a cultural thing or maybe even an industry thing that we have to not be egomaniacs? Because I mean, we are doing something out there. I don't know. I'm thinking about that as you're saying it. And I'm like, but why does that have to feel egomaniac? Because we say we're good at what we do. Look, if a person is operating on somebody, they were like, I'm good.
Yeah. I don't think that's bad to say. I just think like it's okay to feel that you're good. I hope you feel that you're good because we're so insecure as is. That's why we do what we're doing. but hopefully you get to a point where it just recently for me, I got to a point where I can actually watch myself and not get sick and like not just beat myself up and go,
are you kidding me?
What are you doing? Yeah. And I had to watch The Old Man for work purposes. Like I had to do all the social media stuff. And I was dreading it.
That was like a year. We're like in the last year. You've been on TV for almost the better part of a decade. Are you telling me you just now can start watching yourself?
Yeah, without getting sick.
Without getting sick.
Well, like I actually was proud of myself for the first time, you know. But then I watched an episode of City on a Hill and I was so mad. I was like, what were you doing? Why did they use that take? I was so upset.
Yeah.
But you know, it is what it is. You learn, you go on. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean you're not going to work. It, you know, you're human. It's good that you care and you want to be good at. You're never going to be perfect, but aspiring for perfection is great. It's okay. So I'm okay with it now. I'm
Okay.
okay with watching it and going, okay, that wasn't great. Instead of what I used to do, if I caught something, I'd go in a 3-day tailspin of, oh my gosh, you're the worst. You don't know what you're doing. You're a hack. This is garbage. Da da da.
I mean, you
Like,
go in. You go in on
oh
yourself.
yeah, I did a show called Sneaky Pete with
Yeah.
Bryan Cranston, and
Hmm.
I wish every actor on the earth to work with this man because he is the real deal in the best way. He's a great actor. He's my favorite living actor, but he's also a better person, and he's so collaborative. And he taught me so much, and I love him so much. He's amazing. I put so much pressure on myself for this show because he cast me. It was his show.
Hmm.
And when I watched the first scene of that I was in, and I shut it off, and I was miserable for 3 days. Just I couldn't. I was so angry at myself.
Mm.
But if you ever do watch something a third time or something, you go, oh, it wasn't that bad actually. You know, the first time you watch something, you're like, oh God. But if you go back and watch it, so since then, I'm trying to learn. And this recently, I finally got to a place where it's like, what is the good of being negative on yourself? What good are you? Are you a better actor because you're beating yourself up? No, you're not helping anybody. You're just being a little brat, essentially.
I'm one of those rare actors, man, that I don't mind
You
watching
love
myself.
it.
I don't, I can,
I love that.
I put on a business hat and look at it from a
Mm,
totally different perspective.
great.
And, you know, I just, because I guess I beat myself up in so many other areas of my life, man,
Sure. I hear
that
you.
like this one is when I get to do it, I get to see it self tapes. I can just critically sit back and I'm just looking at another person. I'm looking at, I can see, oh gosh, okay, cool. Next time, let's do that again and let's move. I look at it differently because I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't want to, I do beat myself up a lot. You know, I shame spiral for
Mm,
so many other things. Like
mm,
this one, we get
mm.
to do it.
Beautiful.
We get to do it. And I'm like, oh, right. I don't even know sometimes. People ask me, like, how do you cry? I'm a very emotional person
Yeah.
on
Me
screen.
too.
And I don't mind it. And I'm like, I'm just there taking in everything that's really happening and living. And I love it. I love that stuff. And Titus knows everybody's lines, the entire script. He
Oh,
has a
really?
photographic effing memory.
Beautiful.
And I
Wow,
can see
lucky.
him. You know how when we watch those people, like sometimes when I'm saying my lines, I can see him doing this.
No, I hate that. Oh, it drives me nuts.
Because I
So
know,
distracting.
but I know. That's why I know. I was like, Titus, what are you doing? He's like, you missed something. I was like, I know, Titus. But like,
That's
I think his
awesome.
mind takes pictures of those things here.
That's so
You know,
cool.
listen, before we run out of time, I want to, you said, you know, you love this and you love what's going on with the craft and all that stuff like that. I guess I just want to pick your brain real quick about self-tapes. Love them, hate them?
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I've learned. Look, I prefer being in the room. I thrive in the room. I realized That's part of the reason I got to where I'm at. I think is because I don't let the moment. I'm lucky. I played tennis at a pretty high level, and I think tennis helped me with my nerves a lot.
Yeah.
For some odd reason, as soon as that door closes, the nerves are in the waiting room for
Mm-hmm.
me. When I get
Agreed.
that room, it's over. Let's go. Let's work.
Agreed.
And I'm excited. Most of the times, of course, I've had moments of like, why did I get so nervous there? But self tapes I've come to realize have helped me as an actor a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really watched myself this much.
Yeah.
And like we were saying, I've gotten to a point with self tapes. I'm different than what happens on screen. I can literally go, that's really good. All right, let's move on. So
Yeah, that's what I mean by that. That's
yeah.
exactly what I mean, right?
So I like it. I like it a lot. I wish that testing was not over Zoom. Zoom auditions to me are pointless. I don't know how they're doing it. I understand it's a necessary evil, but is it still? I don't think so. So to me, when it gets to that level of the process, I feel like let's take a test. We're all vaxxed. Let's get in a room. It's a couple of us max. Let's do it. Stay masked. I'll stay masked and then I'll take it off in the scene. You stay masked so you can actually see me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So yeah, that's my only problem is Zooms. I don't understand where I'm looking. I don't know how I'm going doing it through this. It's weird. So, but the
Yeah.
self tapes I'm okay with. I set up a spot. I did the whole thing. You could see my walls completely gray. Like I just put that up. Like, yeah,
I
like
know
I'm set. And I
it.
take it very seriously and I love the process of it. And I have a couple of really good actor friends of mine who we do it together. And then sometimes when I get in a rut, um, one of the things I do is go to a coach that doesn't know who I am
Mm,
and has never seen me work. And I think
mm,
that's important. I think what we do as actors is get in a comfortable space with people who know us and we don't have the nerves that we usually have.
mm,
Nerves are important.
mm.
You want that anxiety. It helps. You could see it, in the tape. Something's bubbling. It's interesting to watch. So I think that's something that's helped me a lot.
That's so interesting because I think, my experience with new coaches, like I have to
Mhm.
go to them for the second time if it's a real thing,
Oh
for
yeah, I hear you.
appointment,
So you
because I
trust them?
feel, yeah, well, I not even to trust them. And this might be in my head. Sometimes I feel like coaches are trying to prove themselves on the first round.
Oh, I
And
hear
so
you.
they're trying to
Yeah,
get you to do what they think is right. And I think coaching at its best for
yeah,
me is a
yeah,
collaborative effort. If you are
yeah.
helping me bring out my je ne sais quoi,
Sure,
right?
totally.
Not let me
Totally.
get away with any of my
Yeah,
isms, but the thing that's gonna book me, like
yeah.
you think is gonna be me, like the stuff that I bring.
Yes,
Not like, oh, you have to turn this way and do it this thing. You know how you, but if you get some of the next
totally.
level coaches, they get that, I think.
But sometimes also you can take it as, yes, I've had terrible tapes with coaches,
Mhm.
but I'm pretty, I won't turn it in.
So we're
Right.
at that level now. I won't do it either. You're right. I won't.
Right. So I won't
Mhm.
turn that in, but what I'll do is go tape it with my friend or
Right.
whoever else. And I'll take what I saw and I didn't like what that guy was saying or girl was saying, and I'll use it in a different way. And it all becomes something I want. Sometimes you realize what you want to
Yeah,
do through their terrible coaching.
I agree.
so,
Mhm.
so that's another. You can always learn, even if you get bad coaching, as long as you're not under a deadline. You have to get it in. Da, 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 da. Of course, I understand all that, and it's and let me say also, I know I'm at a position of privilege now after all this time to be able to say I'm not turning this in
Yeah.
without fear of my agents going, "We're dropping you."
And if
Right?
they
They're
do
not.
drop
They're
us,
well.
if
They're
they
not dumb. They're not going to drop me. Right at this point, like I have really good reps,
if
and I'm obsessed with them, and I think it's a mutual thing now. It's always been mutual, I should say. All my reps are. I'm so lucky, and I think I had to go through all that shit to get these women. All my reps are women, by the way,
mm,
and I'm so lucky. I have these strong, powerful women supporting me, for me to say, I don't want to turn this in. They
yeah.
go, great, no problem. We'll get an extension if we can. If not, don't worry about it. Like it's beautiful. And I'm very lucky. So I know I'm in this position now after 19 years of killing myself that I can do this. So to the actors that are still grinding, I mean, we're all grinding, but still, trying to get their way up. I get it, man. You don't have that, turn it in. I understand all that. So I
Yeah.
don't want that to come off as me like someone who's out of touch. So I know where I'm at. But I'm just saying, if you can, please don't turn it in until it's ready. That's all.
Until you're ready for that. Pej, I'm going to be remiss. I got two questions for you that are burning my mind. And,
Please.
we talked about this before we, hit record a little bit, and we're talking about the coveted series regular, right?
Mm, mm-hmm,
I know I just couldn't.
mm-hmm,
I'm gonna let you
mm-hmm.
run, but I just I was on Bosch for 7 years, right? I was on that show for 7 years, and around season 4 and 5, we were like, okay, what's up? And it just was not that thing. And we're talking about doing 10 out of 10 episodes, have your own thing. And you mentioned to me as I was talking about it with Bones, I was like, well, you're a series regular. He's like, I haven't been. I was like, so what is your take, feel like on that? If you got to watch this on YouTube, y'all. Y'all got to see it.
Series regular for me is such a, I don't even know how to, my love hate with that word.
Mm,
It's man, I've been on a lot of stuff. I've been very blessed. Bones changed my life. And Bones wanted to make me a series regular. The showrunner wanted to make me a series regular. They tried and tried, and the network said no, and they couldn't afford it, and whatever else, which is fine. I'm actually grateful, because what it afforded me was to jump on another show called Shameless, and I was in every episode of that first season, and they wouldn't buff me up to series regular. I remember testing for a pilot, and I would tell them I'm about to test for this pilot. They go, "Hope you don't get it."
No
You know
way.
what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then I remember testing for another show, and I got an email. My manager said, "You got it." I'm like, "What?" And I was like, I finally did it. I'm a series regular. 2 seconds later, I go, they changed their mind.
Oh no. Yeah.
Like, those types of things have happened. I booked a show called Dallas, and I was recur. And then at the end of the season, the showrunner was like, "We're going to bump you up next season." Show got canceled. Then Dynasty was about to do the same thing. Show got canceled. I'm in pretty much every episode of The Old Man, and I'm treated like a series regular. Let me say that. I mean, better than I've ever been treated in my career. And I'm not a series regular yet.
Yeah.
Maybe. City on the Hill, I'm in 6 of 8. Same thing. But it's such a triggering word, because what does it mean?
What does it mean?
What it mean? Yeah. What does it mean? It means security financially. Let's be honest. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about so much money that as an actor, you can't believe that's what you're getting, And that's one of the main things I think that, if I'm being honest, is what's been the driving force, is, to have stability, financial stability in this town. The other thing is just, there's a prestige behind it. There's something different when you're a series regular. You feel different. Even though I have more scenes than a couple other series regulars on my show, it doesn't matter, So there's something to it. I think I've come to the point in my career where I would never admit that before. I'd be so embarrassed,
To admit it was about money, or to
admit that I've never been a series regular, because no one thinks I've never been a series regular. No one who knows my career think, of course you've been a series. You booked tons of stuff. Never, right? Yeah. And I think now I've gotten to a point where, like, oh, I'm so grateful it hasn't happened yet, because I have this dream of mine that's still out there, that once it happens, I can't imagine the joy I'm going to feel for accomplishing that goal. And I believe that when it happens, it's going to be not just some flash in the pan bullshit show. It's going to be a big deal, and it's going to be a game changer, and it's going to be something that levels me up. So I'm okay with it now. I've come to a point where, like, you have an awesome career. You get to jump from this to that to do these things. What a blessing. I'm not stuck 22 episodes, do one thing. Now, don't get me wrong. I think when if and when that kind of thing happens, I'll take that as a blessing as well.
Yeah.
So it's all about my mindset has changed out of that insecure Pej saying, "Oh, I don't want people to think I'm not a series regular, because wow, how embarrassing. We still haven't done it. What are you talking about? What are we talking about?"
We've
like, yeah, please.
We've done it.
Yeah, of course.
We've done it.
Come on.
Hey, do you think that 8-year-old Pej is proud of you?
Yeah. Big time. Big time. Yeah. I mean, I think he's looking at me. Sometimes I was telling my friend the other day, if he looked at me right now, like little kid me, he'd be like, "Oh my God, how the hell did you do this?" I say that to myself. I'm 41. I'm like, what the, wow, this is amazing. Just the like talking to you on a podcast about my career. That's nuts that someone cares. Like, that's, to me, is like, wow, Pej, bravo. You really, like, good for you, man. Good for you.
Hey, keep inspiring out there, man. I am, like I said, I was so excited to get on this call with you, and I am so excited in the end. And I'm like, can we be friends? Can we kick it? Like, I'm
a fan. You know that. I'm a fan. Your podcast helped me a lot. I text you or message you that.
Yeah.
Because I was going through it, man. I'm telling you, it was low. It was real low. And I was worried. I was never going to work again. Like we always have that fear. I was even on a show and I was scared of that.
Yeah.
You know, and I got real down. And I just am trying to become someone who's more open about my feelings, because that's something I wasn't taught as a man, Iranian man in this country. And I'm okay with telling you I'm not a series regular. I'm okay with telling you I have anxieties constantly. This is all very new to me. I used to be the guy who has his shit together, and I'm never going to show you that I'm worried. No one's going to know it.
Yeah.
And your podcast was one of the things that helped me go, oh, I'm not alone. Angel Parker dealt with this. Oh my God, look at her thriving, and kept listening and hearing people's stories. And it helps to know you're not alone. And I found myself being okay with telling people, because what you realize is you don't know what someone tells you. Wow, you have anxiety attacks? Oh my God, I thought you have it all. And you're this guy who holds it together. And how could you have it if you have it and I have it? Oh, I'm not alone in this world. So I found a real freedom in my life to be able to be open with my emotions. And one of the things that got me there was hearing your podcast, to realize like, oh man, I'm not alone. And that put an impetus on me to be more open with myself and let people know, like, look, man, I go through a lot of shit. Life's hard and we're all in it together. And maybe on social media you see all the greatness, you never see the crap. So
yeah, I love that article you said about in Backstage, where you're just like, I can't believe 20 years later I might be putting the wrong time on there. I used to look in this thing for auditions, and now I'm writing in it.
Yeah.
And I think those full circle moments are so very important.
Absolutely.
Because you are always welcome here. This is a home here.
Man.
There is a light on for you in this virtual village.
I appreciate it. Anytime.
And I can't wait to see you on set.
Yes. Oh yeah, put that out there. I love it. I would love that.